Looks like we're live.
All right. I think we are live now. All right. Yeah, I think we are live. I think my group texted me. Thanks for bearing with us as we were figuring out some glitches, but we are live now. My name is Christopher Brazelton. I'm with Elm Street Cultural Arts Village. And this is Debbie Tidwell, our very own artist who teaches regularly with us. Is it 5 classes now, Debbie?
4 and some private lessons.
4 classes a week and some private lessons. And I, as we're figuring out everything, we're going through some technical difficulties. But if you do have a question for Debbie, I've got a few questions for her myself. But if you do have a question for Debbie, please feel free to leave it in the comments, and we'll monitor those ourselves, and we'll ask away. So
first, I want to say hey to all my students. Shout out to them. They've been supportive and great of me and Elm Street, and FaceTiming and sending me emails. So we've been keeping up with what's going on with each other. A lot of variety of ways.
Right, definitely. Well, Debbie, let's start with something simple. What got you into visual arts, and how long have you been doing it?
Oh, all my life I've been drawing, sketching, and went to college for graphics and illustration and enjoyed that immensely until while I was raising kids, you know, computer took over the world, and I went, let's change things a little. I took a painting class, fell in love with it, and started painting, and then eventually teaching.
Okay. The main well, when you say you started painting and then eventually you started teaching, but was that oil painting at the time? I know that you mainly teach oil painting now, and we'll get there eventually, but was it oil painting was that the class?
Yes, I had a friend talk me into it. She said, take this painting class with me. And I said, I don't care anything about oil painting. And she said, oh, come on, take this with me. And so we went. She didn't like it. I loved it.
That's funny.
Yeah, I really fell in love with it and have been doing it for 20 years now. So.
Okay, 20 years you've been painting. Like that class was 20 years ago?
A little more than 20 years ago. I took from someone for about 2 years and then went out on my own. So.
Okay. So what allowed you to, or really, when was it where you realized, hey, I'm going to do this professionally, whatever that means? I think for everybody that's probably a little bit different. that there's some sort of, but I guess for you, what, you know,
just change in life circumstances and needing to support 3 kids, and I decided I didn't really want to go back to school to learn computers for graphics. I like hands-on, and I was enjoying the painting and getting commissions that way. And then a friend of mine who had a frame shop, Kathy PQ, said, people want you to teach. And I went, no, I'm not a teacher. And she said, give it a try. And she gave me some space in the back room, and I just said, don't let them see you sweat. And I started teaching, and I had wonderful groups of people. Started out with 4 people, and I still have some today. So
nice.
It's been maybe 18 years I've been teaching, and still have some of the same students.
But teaching also isn't, I mean, I know that teaching is the main thing that you do. Obviously 4 classes is enough to keep everyone busy, and I know because I see it, but Debbie's classes is right next to our offices, typically, just for those of you that may not know. But what is pretty fun to watch is is how, I guess, intense the classes are, and I don't mean that in an intimidating way. I guess they're about 2 to 3 hours,
They're
and
3-hour classes, yes.
tons of questions, I know, and certain techniques, and we'll get there eventually too. But I guess it's not just teaching that you do either, because there's that, not that that's a just, but it's not teaching only, I should say. It's also commission work every now and then, and also like jury shows. Is that right?
I try to get in several juried shows every year. That shows my students that I am a working artist, and it's always good to get the accolades and be a part of bigger group of shows and a lot of professional artists. So you meet a lot of great people and get to travel to some places and show your work.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so I have to ask, what's been your favorite work that you have done? I know that's such a hard question. It's such a cliche question too. So but this is my first interview. So you're the guinea pig all the way around. So I'll ask all of the cliche questions.
Okay. Oh, that is a hard one. Portraiture is one of the most difficult areas of illustration and painting I've ever ventured into, except for sculpting figures. That was even harder. And so a lot of times when you're working on a portrait, it's not even fun. It's kind of a little nerve-wracking until finally it comes together and you're going, oh, I'm in love with this now. So it can almost be every time you do one. When I did my granddaughter in her Batman outfit, it was just so much fun. And then I just did my niece's 2 little girls, and they were dressed up as Alice in Wonderland and Cheshire Cat, and that's going to be in a show, Southworks show. And it's fun when you really make it work out the way you had hoped, or better.
Okay, yeah. So you find the fulfillment, because I guess I probably should have asked about your process, but the process of taking a picture, turning it into a portrait, whatever, we'll get into that detail in just a second, but the fulfillment, for you at least, is I guess feeling fulfilled in the completion of that in a good way, whether that's or is there another aspect of fulfillment with that?
Certainly when you're doing a commission piece for someone, when they're really happy with it. I did do, I went to somebody's garden earlier this year and took photographs and used their photographs and came up with a piece that wasn't even realistic, but had the colors they wanted, you could tell it was their garden. And we made a really special piece out of that. And so that's fun to work in conjunction with what somebody likes and what they want. And it gives me a variety of things to do. Even teaching helps me explore some things I wouldn't have normally even taught or tried to do. And I go, oh, I got to figure out this problem. But then it's kind of enjoyment when I get it right, get the right color, and wow, my students who go, how'd you know that? I don't know. So
that's funny. When so you do well. I mean, I know, because I've had some pieces in my office of your trees.
Right.
So talk about your trees, which if you're looking, you can see obviously Debbie's working on a little pup there, and to I think my left, maybe you're right, I'm not sure, but there's another set of golden, orange, brown trees there that I know Debbie does a lot of those. And I think actually, if you've ever been to the Elm Street Theater, she worked for months on one that are 2 sets of their doors, right? And they're inside the theater right now at Elm Street that have those trees on them as well. So that's a kind of a brand for you of some sort. So talk about the trees a little bit.
Before I started teaching, and I was in a lot of galleries and doing some decorative work for people, and liking to found objects like the doors that I salvaged and painted on. I worked for a year trying to develop this texture, and finally found a product that I fell in love with and could work with it, where I rubbed in the paints and layered it, and it made a unique effect. And there's a little bit of iridescence that I can put in that you don't see until the light changes during the day, and that makes it really interesting. Wherever it hangs, has a different look throughout the day. So that was a fun thing to develop and say this is something that's all mine, that I figured out. And so I've done it on, this was actually a mirror that I found, and just put the texture on it and built up from there.
Nice. Okay. Very fun. And also, I said they're on the doors as well, but the other one is there's another set that's in the lounge of the theater as well.
Yeah.
And I remember when you were installing those, talking about the different lights that were on in the theater and how the painting would react to that. So it's actually, you're right, it is a very interesting. And I know in the theater there's a lot of variables because of the stage lights too. So you're right, the paintings do very much react to light in a kind of a dramatic way, I feel like. So if someone wanted to take a class with you, what would they do?
If you go to Elm Street's webpage, you can look under visual arts and find me. And you can, usually people are going to call me or email me. And I have a waiting list for most of the classes, but sometimes I'll have some turnover.
Yeah.
And you just try to keep up with me and see whenever there's an opening. And each little group has their own personality and have become friends with each other, and even taken trips together, and shared pictures for painting, and shared observations, although they know that it's $210 for a session for 8 weeks, but if they help teach, it's $310. So that's our joke.
Nice.
I'm the teacher.
Yeah, that's right. And I do know that we just actually, also in the comments, we did put a link to Debbie's Facebook page as well. So you can follow her there and see some of the work that her students are working on, and certainly what Debbie's doing, because she's, you know, in a lot of juried shows. And a lot of those pieces are in there. Currently, what are you working on right now? This is a pup in the background, right?
Right. I do enjoy doing some pet portraits that are a little bit different. I use some unrealistic colors, but have a lot of fun with it. And this is Coco that I'm working on. And so by the time I get to the other side, she'll be mainly purple, but she'll have the same look and the same fun attitude with her little angel ears. And so I've enjoyed kind of separating myself from other pet portrait artists by doing these a little larger than life, and with my signature kind of background that I like to do.
Okay.
So those are commissioned too, that I have fun doing.
Yeah, definitely. I know that you've done a number of those now.
I have.
of the pups. When they come out there, it is, you're right, it's not a traditional picture portraiture, because I think a lot of them are a little bit, I mean, I don't want to say anything incorrectly here, but you know, a little bit more funky with the colors,
Yeah.
a little bit more bold to bring some fun to it. Not that the dogs by themselves aren't fun. And speaking of, I never introduced, I apologize. This is Morgan. This is Morgan. Office.
Where is he? I hear him. Where is he?
That's right. Morgan, the office dog, is regularly in there. Or at least we call her Morgan, the office dog. We share an office with her, but every now and then we'll play with her as well. Morgan also has a little bit on Debbie's Instagram. I hope you don't mind me saying this. There's a different lap that Morgan sits in every day. So she posts out whose lap Morgan is sitting in every day. So that's a fun game to play as well. So we love having
all the students because she does sit in somebody's lap every time they're here.
Yeah, definitely. And if there's not a lap around, then she'll go around the office searching for one. So she knows what she's doing.
Yeah.
So one more question about kind of I guess your process, which I said we would come back to. Is there a as far as portraitures on some of the original, the way that you go about it is having a picture that you're trying to somewhat bring to life via painting. Is that correct? Is that the main way?
Primarily, I go from photos, and I let people know that photos don't tell the whole truth. So if I can see the person in real life or have other photos, and then towards the end of the photo, I usually have the people come in to let me know where it might be off, because a photo is going to usually make you look larger and a little distorted. So I'm not aware exactly where that is. So when I get to a certain point, I will communicate with whoever commissioned it and say, are you seeing something that I'm not aware of? So there's those struggles. Some people will do multitude of photos and some drawings at the same time to try to get the piece to work out best. So.
With is there a certain, like, along with that process, is there a certain like technique? This will show my naivety with this, but is there a certain technique that is a favorite for oil painting, or is it mostly just a practice and learn and trial by error kind of approach on because I mean, I know, because when I'm sitting in there and observing classes, at least I know that there's a lot of color choice mixtures and layers. I mean, I know that by the time, with the dog behind you, for instance, I know there's purple there, and a lot of times they will end up a funky color a la purple. But I know also sometimes I remember seeing like a blue and wondering, where are we going with that? And then by the time the painting's done, there's no blue in there. I didn't, I was like,
right.
Oh, that was the blue one. How did that happen? So is that just trial by error or lessons or?
Certain things, a lot of times I do like to put a background wash on any of my landscapes and wooded scenes. It just helps to have a color in the back and not have white staring at you. With portraits, I usually do just block washed in areas. If I know the area is going to be really dark, a little bit, I washed in some area for the pup and washed in just a tiny bit because I'm still going to have a lot of white in there. But it'll be a little bit of just spot areas. And then, you're not going to see them later. It just helps me enhance some dark areas or some colorful areas.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, that's awesome. I have to say, I'm seeing in the comments here. So, Margaret is saying, check out our classes too. I had to wait 2 years to get in. It was worth it. A lot of people are saying, love you, Debbie, and of course Morgan.
Momo.
So Debbie's Facebook is in the comments, and her Instagram is in the comments now. And Jody says, wonderful teacher. So I know right now, I mean, I'll just speak for you, because I mean, everything at Elm Street is, everything everywhere is kind of changing given the current situation of COVID-19. And I know Debbie is not immune to that, to being affected by that. And so if you are interested in Debbie's classes, please reach out and sign up and get on a waiting list, because I agree, every class is a lot of fun and has a sort of different personality to it. And it's a lot of fun to see, you know, oh, it's Wednesday, we're gonna have maybe a mimosa during paint class, or birthday or something like that. I know that, and beyond that, I'll also say that it's a lot of fun to see, because it's oil painting. So sometimes those layers take a moment to dry. So the classes functionally are about 8 weeks. And usually there's a painting that you walk away with at the end of that. Is that, am I speaking? Or sometimes you might have to come back for another round just to finish it off. But ultimately, I know the classes are a lot of fun.
What I enjoy about my classes is we've got them small, very small and intimate, to where everyone can work on what they want to work on.
Right.
When you're starting out and you do not know the products or do not know how to paint, I do have a project for you. And then the ones that have been with me for such a long time are bringing in things that they want to paint. So it makes it more interesting for me and for them that everybody gets to work on the things they'd like to work on. And it's made me a better painter, like I said, because I'd be like, oh, I wouldn't have ever painted that, but I will now, and
Right.
enjoy it. And I enjoy that everyone has their own idea and look. I'm just a catalyst for them to be able to come up with a artwork that they are very happy with. And there's plenty of people that go different directions than my normal tight illustration or my trees that are decorative. So it's fun just to help if they give me an idea and we go through it together and try to figure out how we're going to accomplish what they want.
Yeah, definitely. I will say it's, if what I have noticed, at least, I know, like you mentioned the trees and some portraits, and certainly a lot of students do that. But what I've noticed is if you go on a vacation somewhere and there's a landscape that you're wanting to remember, oh, I know, Morgan, it's exciting. That with the if you go on a vacation somewhere, a lot of people are taking back a picture, or a picture from the landscape from maybe their their hotel room or something like that, where they're overlooking a landscape and they're trying to replicate that on a painting. It's a great way as well to, although some are certainly more difficult than others. I remember the sailboats one and a few others that are quite amazing by the time that they're done. And I know that they all appreciate our guidance. Actually, I know that because I'm oh, well, Bailey says she also supplies the donuts and coffee sometimes. Judy says Debbie is an amazing person and fabulous teacher. Nancy says, I've never enjoyed any group more than Debbie and the other students in our class. Yeah. So, and she says she's never leaving. So if she's never leaving, that means that get on that wait list now, so that as this clears up and Debbie's able to resume classes, I know she's anxiously awaiting resuming classes, that you also sign up as well and get on that waiting list so you can join the class. I know that a lot of people have fun with it. Yeah. So Debbie, anything else that you want to say while we have a ton of people watching?
I love you guys. Y'all have been so wonderful and so supportive, and I love Elm Street, and it is a dream come true, and the future looks bright. So
there you go. Yeah.
And the Woodstock guys are knocking on the door. They've locked themselves out.
Oh no. There's a few, while the building's empty, there's a few maintenance things happening. I know that. So, well, thank you everyone for watching. We really appreciate you taking the time to watch. And thank you, Debbie, for teaching so many others throughout the community and these wonderful oil painting classes. And we will, I'll see you very soon.
Okay.
But until then, everyone stay safe and healthy, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you. Thanks, Christopher.
Thank you.